Hi, I'm Mark Ashworth.
I'm Neil Harding.
And welcome back to Property Insight. And today we have got 5 books that we reckon every property investor, whether you've already got a portfolio or whether you're just starting, should certainly consider reading. And without further ado, we're going to get straight into it. So the first one is this book here. I may have mentioned this on another video. This is a book by Rob Dix. It's called How to Be a Landlord. And even though you'll probably have every intention to use a letting agent for your properties, this book will tell you exactly all there is to know about how to be a landlord and own a property portfolio. It obviously considers that you will be building a portfolio or you have one already, and it focuses around managing and letting, which for some people they would give to their letting agent, of course. But I think it's really fundamental to know everything there is to know about that subject so that you know the right questions to ask, and also how to address any issues and problems that you might that might arise during the length of your business. And of course, most people do it for the long term, so you know it's a great read, and author is fantastic, and it's in easy to read format as well. So How to Be a Landlord, Rob Dix.
Definitely second that. Rob Dix is also very funny as well.
Yeah.
I love reading Rob Dix's stuff. Okay, so you may have heard of this one before. Try and get that in the camera there. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Millions of people have read this book. Years and years ago, I did a Google search on, I think it was something like top 10 books that changed my life. And this, without fail, appeared in every Google search I could possibly do. And I thought, I better read it then. And I read it, and it's made my top books of all time shortlist because it really did change my life, actually, and I think it has done for a lot of people. And whilst I don't necessarily actually agree with every single point that's made in there, the overall message that you take away from reading this about how important it is to create cash flowing assets that put money in your pocket and how that can change your life and your future is just huge. So impactful, so powerful. And I know loads of people who have read this book and it was a turning point for them. So if you haven't read it, I recommend it.
It's the concept, isn't it, at the end of the day? In actual fact, I was recommended to read this book by my brother many years ago, and I read it and acted on it. He read it. I don't think he acted on it. It may be in different ways, but yeah, it's a great read. Really, really good book, and lots of people can recommend it, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The next book I make no apologies for because I am an accountant. It's a tax guide. It's actually called Property Investor's Tax Guide, and it's by Shaz Nawaz. And Shaz, I know, is also a property investor himself, as well as a property tax accountant specialist. Now, the thing that I love about this book is that apart from tax is important to any business, especially the property investor business, it's very digestible. For anyone thinking that tax is really boring, inaccessible, can't read it, none of it makes sense, do give this book a go because it outlines pretty much everything that you need to know about property investing and the tax implications of what you're doing. It's such an important area, and it will explain a lot of difficult concepts in a very easy to read way.
Yeah, and I suppose, if you're doing it for the long term and ultimately you want to replace your income and all that sort of stuff, and you're running a business, then it's really important to learn about all tax implications of any business, I reckon.
Absolutely.
So we're now on to number 4.
Yeah, go on, Mark.
Which is another Rob Dix book. I think you're probably getting to learn that we like Rob Dix here. This is The Price of Money. This book came out. It's since been updated. I think he updated it only this year. And this book it's a must for everyone, whether or not you're into property, or whether if you're watching this video and you just want to know a bit more about property, but you want to know more importantly about how to protect yourself and how to understand how the world works in terms of money and the economy and all that kind of stuff. This book makes it so easy to understand. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It talks all about money, where money came from, what it does and how it works in the world today. Obviously, it talks a little bit about property investment in there, but ultimately it's all about the dollar, about how it was used to be pegged to gold, all this kind of stuff that, for most people it can be a difficult subject to understand, but this just makes it really easy. The strapline for the book is How to Prosper in a Financial World That's Rigged Against You, which basically means, the world's using fiat currencies, which basically devalue over periods of time. This will explain that book in a lot more detail. So yeah, highly recommended. thanks Rob Dix for a fantastic plethora of books that you give us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last but not least, book number 5, Retirement Planning Expert 2022, although I think the book is actually updated and refreshed every year. Book by Alan Nestor Smith. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I think for anyone watching our other video on your property goals and objectives and why you want to invest in property, which could be for capital growth, could be for income, and for many people it's for retirement planning. I highly recommend reading this book in conjunction with your goals around retirement planning. It really helps you focus on where do you need to get to, by when, how to maximise your sources of income, multiple sources of income, how property can work into that alongside perhaps your private pension in stocks and shares or other savings that you might have, and just really pieces all of that together with all relevant information kept up to date as well, which is the thing I really like about it. This is the 2022 version, but as I say, I think this comes out every year, so that you're always knowing what the latest tax rules are and that it's current and relevant to you in today's world. So yeah, highly recommend that book as well. There are loads of great books out there. These are 5 that we particularly love.
Yeah, and I mean, particularly Rich Dad Poor Dad was written a long time ago, you know, so it's not, it's kind of relevant in any year. It's not just, whereas the retirement stuff and the tax books you tend to find that you have to buy updated versions because obviously it reflects the current tax position in the UK. But yeah, all these books are fantastic. And we want to give you a bonus book because this book, Neil and I were talking off camera, and we've both read this book. Well, you've read the written version.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've actually listened to the audiobook, which is equally as fantastic because he actually does the commentary. It's not property related, but it's called This Is Going to Hurt, and it's a book by Adam Kay. Now, Adam Kay was a junior doctor, worked for many years in hospitals, giving all sorts of treatments to people, and his book is basically a book of stories about his time there. But the reason why we mention it on this particular show is because it just goes to show that he was in a job where he was earned income, so he was exchanging his time for money, and he got to a stage where it just got too much for him and he gave it up. And I think it just highlighted for me the fact that he was leading himself or getting himself into a position where he had no choice but to do that job and to continue doing that job, and he had to make a very tough decision. Well, I suppose tough in one way, tough in a way where he was going to give up a good salary, and tough and easier in another way where it just got all a bit too much for him. And particularly everything that's around the NHS, that's all the complicated stuff that's difficult to deal with. But I think it's really important to try some parts of your life to be your own, in control of it a lot more. So you used to work for a corporation, you know, in the corporate world, and obviously that ties you into an awful lot of red tape. And if you are in a position yourself to be able to control not necessarily all of it, but certainly some of it by perhaps doing a little bit of property investment or having your own business as well as working for someone else, it just gives you a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend that book as well. I've read it, as Mark said, it's so funny. It's so funny. Even if you're not even interested in property investing, in which case I don't know why you're watching this video, but even if you're not, just read the book or listen to it on audio. It is just hilarious.
It'll brighten up your day.
Yeah.
We hope that you found that video insightful, and read some of those books. I'm sure you'll find them useful. We look forward to catching up with you on the next video.